Hello and welcome to my review of the full Necron force found in the Warhammer 40,000 Indomitus box set. I do have individual unit reviews for all of these Necron units on this channel, so you just need to type in the name of the unit and Super Saiyan and you'll most likely find them. In those reviews they are more in depth. I go through some size comparisons and I talk about their rules compared to their other units and the Primaris force. I am a big fan of these models, a big fan of the new Necrons. I will be getting all of the new Necrons and then I'll go on to unbox them and review them. So this is a great start for me. I had to get my hands on this set. The Indomitus set itself will cost you £125. It was available for, well, 4 minutes, and then Games Workshop, I guess, experienced fear of missing out of sales themselves, and they decided to make the box set made to order for I think about a month or so. Hopefully you guys will have now received your box sets and have either built them or painted them or whatever, and by now will have either built them or painted them. So the whole point of this video is to review the entire Necron force. In the same vein as the Primaris force review, I will go through each of these units individually, and towards the end of the video I'll disclose my favourite model in this set, but I think you can probably already guess which one I'm leaning to. Anyway, the force includes 4 HQ choices, 3 elite choices, 1 troop choice and 1 fast attack. So although it's got 9 units, the same as the Primaris force, it does include an additional HQ choice that Primaris don't have, but it doesn't then include a heavy support choice at all. When I first looked at the Canoptec Reanimator, I thought, yeah, heavy support, and most likely the larger Big Daddy version of it, Doomstalker, I think it's Doomstalker, that will be a heavy support. I don't think that that's going to be an elite choice. So it's missing out on the heavy support, and that's the main thing I feel from this set, is you're missing out on some big heavy weaponry. The Primaris Force fast attack is undoubtedly better than those Canoptec Scarab swarms. Although the Primaris Outriders don't have nearly the same number of attacks as these Scarab swarms, they are more survivable and faster. And likewise, this Necron force doesn't have anything to counter those Eradicators. Those Eradicators can pump out a fair amount of shots if they just target one unit. Although they are lacking in a little bit of range, lacking in range is still better to have some range than be mainly melee focused. Now what this force actually does bring to the table though is bodies. It's got a lot more models. There are 20 Necron Warriors there. You've got 3 Scorpec Destroyers, a Scorpec Lord, an Overlord, a Royal Warden, Plasmansa, 2 Crypto Thralls, 6 swarms of Canoptec Scarabs, the Plasma Sight that comes with the Scorpec Destroyer, and also that tall Canoptec Reanimator, which, although it doesn't really do that much damage, it's a great buff increase in the reanimation protocols. So that thing on the table, if it's got models within 9 inches of it, so it's a nice 9-inch bubble there, that is going to make your whole Necron force much more survivable. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent of reviewing the whole force. So let's start off with the HQ choices, of which there are 4. There's quite a decent number of them, although I feel like the Royal Warden is probably the weakest out of them because the Plasmansa does have some special abilities. Anyway, this is the main guy right here. This is the Overlord, synonymous to Necron armies for many years. I think he's a decent looking Necron Overlord. He's got these metal tassel things, he's got the Tachyon arrow as always, and he's got the big hyperphase glaive as well. He doesn't have that many attacks, but he is very strong, and his glaive increases his strength. He's got a good toughness, a decent number of wounds. He's got a 3+ normal save and a 4+ invulnerable save, and that Tachyon arrow, not to be overlooked. It's a 120-inch range, strength 12, AP -5, damage D6 weapon. The downside is he can only fire it once, so pick a very tough target. And the thing with that is his ballistic skill is 2+, so he may get a 1 and then you've just wasted the shot. But anyway, decent looking Overlord model, a bit of a scenic base going on there with the Scarab, so there we go. So there you go, that is the brand new Overlord model in this set. Moving on to his second in command, I guess, which is the Royal Warden. This guy is just a beefed up Necron Warrior in my opinion, and that's mainly because his movement speed, weapon skill and ballistic skill are all the same, but he is a bit stronger at 5 and he's got a toughness of 5, he's got a lot more wounds at 4, and he does have more attacks, but he has the same leadership, but he does have a better save, he has a 3+ save. His weapon is kind of like, again, a beefed up version of a Gauze Flare. It's still a rapid fire weapon, but it is a nice AP -2 and a damage of 2. And he's got an ability whereby a chosen unit can still fall back and shoot and charge. But yeah, he's lacking a melee weapon completely, even though he's got his 3 attacks. It would be nice to have some kind of hyperphase dagger or hyperphase bayonet. I just think he should have had something like that rather than just this ranged weapon. But he's going to look really cool, sort of leading your Necron Warriors. Then we have another HQ choice, which is the Plasmansa. A little bit like a mage in a way. He's got quite a basic stat line in terms of his weapon skill and his strength, and you know, he's got a decent number of wounds, but where his strengths lie is with his shooting attack, which is a very decent 18-inch assault D3, strength 7, AP -3 and a damage of 2, and that weapon does have a melee profile too, but he's only got 1 attack. He has a couple of excellent abilities such as Living Lightning, whereby other units suffer mortal wounds on a 50-50 chance, and likewise you can also select a nearest enemy model, which can also suffer a mortal wound. So he's just a mortal wound giver in a way. I wouldn't rely on him too much in combat. His shooting profile's good, but I wouldn't rely on him in combat. He's just got those great auras and good little couple of abilities. And then I'm kind of saving the best till last in the form of the Scarab Lord. Probably the best HQ choice in the force. He's got his normal 3+ save, but he's also got a 4+ invulnerable. He's very fast at movement 8 inches. He's got a strong stat line there of weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+. He's got his strength and toughness and wounds are all 6. He's got a decent number of attacks at 4, and he's got a few decent weapons like the Hyperphase Harvester, which is a strength 8, AP -4, damage 3 weapon. Bit like a Power Fist, I guess. Then he's got the Flensing Claw and a decent little shooting weapon called the Enmitic Annihilator. He's hardwired for destruction, and he's got an aura buffing ability where you can reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by models in friendly Dynasty Destroyer cult. So it's worth putting him near those Scarab destroyers if you can. Speaking of which, they're my next topic of discussion. Here they are, and they are one of the 3 elite choices that this force has. They share many similarities in both aesthetics and the way they function with the Scarab Lord. After all, they are in the same destroyer cult. They're a fast unit, they're strong, they're tough, they've got many wounds, many attacks, their save is good, they can reroll their hit rolls of 1, and the Plasmasite, which is the little creature right here, can also buff them up and add 1 to their strength and attack characteristic. Their Hyperphase Reap Blade is basically like a Power Fist, but you don't need to subtract 1 from the hit roll. I'm not sure whether that was an omission, because the Hyperphase Harvester you do have to for the Scarab Lord, but the Reap Blade you don't, which is amazing. I wonder if that was an omission though. And then the Hyperphase Threshers are still pretty decent. They're still like a power sword. You get an extra attack, so that's 4 attacks, and it's still AP -3. So a strong Terminator killing, Blade Guard veteran killing unit. They just don't have those invulnerable saves. The next elite choice in my discussion list is these Crypto Thralls. Truth be told, I'm not a big fan of them. I think they're the worst models in the whole box set in total, but I guess there are a few of you that really like them, like the kind of garbage or rubbish can that they kind of jump out of, I suppose. Their stat line is alright. They are strong and they are tough, and they do have a couple of wounds each. Their weapons aren't the best, but where they do shine is in the role of bodyguards for the Plasmansa, and I actually wouldn't leave home with the Plasmansa without the Crypto Thralls. 1, because they stop anything from targeting with a ranged weapon your Cryptech unit, and secondly, you change their weapon skill and ballistic skill to 3+, and their attacks to 6 whilst they're within 6 inches of a Cryptech. So that's a big buff, having 6 attacks now each, even though they are quite weak. They're strength 5, AP -1 and damage 1, so you're not going to be cutting open any Terminators anytime soon. So this is a unit which on the face value look a bit weak, but when they're used in conjunction with that Plasmansa or another Cryptek model, they get buffed, and that's when you reap more of the benefits from them. And the final elite choice is this Canoptec Reanimator, very War of the Worlds-esque. And the final elite choice is this Canoptec Reanimator. When I first saw it, I thought War of the Worlds, you know, these big tripod creatures, units, slowly walking across the field, zapping any enemies with their giant lasers, but that's not really the case with this Reanimator. For one, it's not a heavy support choice, it is just an elite choice, and secondly, the stat line, although is survivable with 6 wounds and a save of 3+, doesn't have an invulnerable save, and the atomizer beam, of which you get 2, is just a bit lackluster, mainly because it's a short range. However, that's not really to be overlooked because his movement speed is very fast. He's one of the fastest units in the force at a movement of 8 inches, and because his range weapon is only 12 inches, that means he still has an effective range of 20 inches. The weapons, you're going to be pumping out 6 shots of strength 6, AP -2 and damage 1. That's alright, and the claws do a similar amount of damage in close combat. The main reason you'll get him though is that you can select one friendly dynasty unit within 9 inches of him. While the unit is within 9 inches, you can add 1 to the reanimation protocols made for models in this unit. So that's fantastic. You don't even need to roll any dice for that. They just have to be within 9 inches of him, and you get +1 to those reanimation protocols, which is very, very useful, especially if you're targeting the units that can utilize the reanimation protocols, such as the Scarab destroyers, the crypto Thralls, and your Necron Warriors. And that leads us very conveniently to the only troop choice that Necrons have, which are the Necron Warriors. Now they're very similar to how they functioned in the last edition. They still have their reanimation protocols, and they have the number is legion, so they get to re-roll the reanimation protocols rolls of 1 for models in the unit, which is very useful. They've always been equipped with these Gauze Flares, which are a 24-inch range, rapid fire 1, strength 4, AP -1, damage 1, so a bit like a bolt gun. But now this kit introduces a brand new weapon, a shorter range weapon, a 14-inch weapon, and what it sacrifices in range, it makes up with a strength 5 and AP -2. And the AP -2 is worth it just on that alone. The set itself allows you to actually build 20 of them with either the Reapers or the Flayers, or have 10 of each, or have 18 Flayers and 2 Reapers. The options are endless. You also get a number of different heads that you can customize your warriors with too. And the poses are pretty decent. They're all sort of moving forward with purpose. The detail on them is fantastic. They've got dints and scrapes and scratches all on their armour. I much prefer them to the older models. It's always nice to see when an army gets a brand new sort of core troop choice for the army. That moment is a joy to behold. And the final unit in this force is the fast attack choice, the Canopitech Scarab Swarms. They're a little bit lackluster because they have a low strength, a low toughness. They don't really have a save because it's a 6+, and they're not that fast for fast attack. I mean, 10 inches, it's only 2 inches faster than that Canoptec Reanimator. But what they're lacking in everything else, they make up in, I say, wounds. If you've got 6 swarms of them, which I have there, that's 24 wounds at the end of the day, which looking at them, looking at like 6 swarms or even 3 swarms, your brain doesn't naturally think, oh, that's 4 wounds per swarm, but it is. And then you add to that the number of attacks that they can have per swarm, which is 4. Suddenly, you've now got 24 attacks. Yes, their weapon skill is only 4+, and their strength is only 3, but it soon adds up, especially when you take into account the Feeder Mandibles ability, whereby when you get a 6 on a hit roll, it automatically scores a hit and successfully wounds the target. So that strength 3 suddenly becomes null and void because you're getting 6s and you're getting instant hits and wounds. Much like the Outrider squad, they are a wolf in sheep's clothing if you opt to take them in a large number of swarms. And now sadly we've come to the end of my review of the full Necron force. There's only one more video to make after this, and that is a review of the entire box set with all of the Indomitus miniatures, both Necrons and Primaris, splayed out before you, where I'll give you a final review of the set and the rulebook, and just highlight once again the incredible value that this set brings to the hobby. I'll end up by saying my favourite model in this whole Necron force, it's very close between the Overlord and the Scarab Lord. I have to give it to the Scorpet Lord because it's new, it's a tripod. I'm looking forward to bigger and better tripod type models. I'm really looking forward to that Doomstalker when it's released, and I hope that Games Workshop release an individual Scorpet Destroyer box set, because I'd be all over that. Everything else we've seen before in some way, the Scarabs, the Necron Warriors, and the Royal Warden even, but it's nice to see them experimenting with those Destroyers and the Crypto Thralls and the Reanimator. I just feel like Games Workshop pushed more new things, pushed the envelope further with the Primaris stuff, and that's understandable. Space Marines and Primaris, they are the best-selling miniatures in the whole of Warhammer 40,000, and they're also the army, or armies, that include the highest number of miniatures and the largest variety. So we're comparing the kind of poster child to Warhammer 40k with a Xenos army, which is always a very difficult thing to do. I'm just extremely happy that Games Workshop have invested time, money, effort, research and development into a Xenos army. We've had so much of the Imperial stuff over the last few years, and the things that we have had from Xenos have been very lackluster. We got a few buggies for Orcs, we got Jane Zar for Eldar and a Banshee unit, and Drazar. We haven't seen anything else new from Orcs, or for Tyranids, or for Tau, or that many new things for the Eldar armies. So after the Primaris push and the Adeptus Sororitas, it's nice to see a big investment into a Xenos army, and particularly Necrons, because they needed it. Let's hope Games Workshop carry this momentum through to Eldar and Tyranids and Orcs to get them to the same level as the Necrons. Hopefully that will happen. I know you've already put this in the Indomitus giveaway video, but I would also like to hear your favourite model out of the Necron Force specifically, and why. Please do put it in the comments below as always. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The flesh is weak.